okay, people are going to choose you if you obviously tap into the desirability that are rooted in what is acceptable by society. But I need everyone to be rebellious. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's my problem. I I need more woke women. I need more women to wake the fuck up. Can you tell this is the same day? I'm Yandi. I talk about deconstructing harmful narratives that disconnects us from ourselves, our bodies. I basically preach about love through just a lot of words. Today we are having a conversation about anti-feminism through fashion politics. I hope I do it justice, but I will let it exist. Like Tyler says, create like a child, edit like a scientist.
Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. I want you to jump. Get ready, get ready.
In my previous video, I talk about how beauty is an expression of self and it is a communication tool of how valuable you are in society, right? Just like beauty, I believe that fashion can be used in the same lens, right? Fashion can be a communication tool about our culture, our arts, our identity, especially in South Africa. An article written by Kensani shows us how fashion can be some form of a political tool, right? She explores how earlier designers such as Stone Cherry, I will write their names on the screen, right? How they used reclamation of Black consciousness as a form of design, or how they designed, right, their clothes based on reclamation of Black consciousness, right? T-shirts with the face of Steve Biko, right, were seen all over the streets during those protesting days, right, during apartheid days, as a communication tool of what we stand for, what we fighting for, and just based on the t-shirts, you already know that I am against the apartheid regime, right? I don't even have to say it with my words. Even the Pantula style, right, which is mainly gumboots, bucket hats, overall, right, communicates social status and economic status, right? Because it comes from obviously a dance genre, but mostly it is an expression of the people who were mine workers at that time, right? They were using gumboots, and they were doing mine work, which means they were wearing overalls, right? That experience was turned into art. It was turned into a fashion statement, right? Overall, gumboots and the bucket hats, you can tell with law good construction of some sorts, right? But eventually we turn it into an artistic expression, which means that we stand with our identity. It's not even our identity, we stand in our social status, or we are communicating our social status as we walk around wearing gumboots and bucket hats. You already can tell Gucci where I am in terms of the economy. Remember the years of 2012 to 2018 when this rebellious image took center stage in especially social media, and during that time there was just a rise in feminism, right? Especially celebrities, they were looking or tapping into just this gothic imagery, looking tanner, looking thicker, wearing black hairstyles. I'm talking to you, Kim Kardashian. But anyway, during that season, right, the conversation about feminism was a thing, right? Content about feminism was a thing. Oh, the woman making money, oh, your hands are, right? Being a girl boss, go get your money, girl. Being a dad, all of that was so prominent, right, in just the collective belief that even our fashion statements was basically F the patriarchy. It was very rebellious. As much as at that time feminism was cool and was revolutionary, it was a time where women took control of the narrative. Women took control of our bodies, our money, our value in society, right? Especially through what we wear. So, as you know, Gen Z is a generation that is known as pushing societal boundaries, pushing systematic boundaries. And one of the boundaries that were pushed was the need to police women's bodies and the enabling of patriarchal culture through how women dress. The illusion of men do not know how to control their sexual desires and therefore we should cover ourselves was immediately thrown away, because we all know that certain men can even go as far as raping grannies and raping babies. So it wasn't a how women dress problem. It was obviously about what men are taught, which is they should not or they cannot control their sexual desires. But something interesting happened during the year 2022 to 2024, 2025, where aesthetics like clean girl aesthetic, old money aesthetic, cottage girl aesthetic, right, was taking center stage, where modesty was now becoming a thing. Or modesty and being consumable, right, and cleaner was a new expression, right, of womanhood. Now there was a switch from being rebellious to being modest, and the modesty came with being soft and consumable, especially as women. Before I continue with this video, everyone is entitled to wear whatever they want to wear. Say it with me. Everyone is entitled to wear whatever they want to wear. We are just exploring and seeing if it's possible that through fashion policing women, was there some sort of a rise in anti-feminism. But as I was saying, rebellious image is gone. Now we have modest image being a thing. Sisipo Mluli, I will link all these people's YouTubes and essays, right? She explores in her Substack essay titled Fascism Strives on Women's Self-Doubt. I'll also define fascism on the screen, right? She explores that right now fascism has the saying, women should only take up space politely. She explores how the more you take up space politely in terms of how you dress, especially, the more likely you're going to be chosen, right? That is the narratives that we live on today, right? In order for us to take up space, it has to be cleaner, politely, and modest, right? So that we can be chosen.
A woman that dresses modestly from a man's perspective. It's really about your heart. It's the intentions of the heart when it comes to dressing with modesty. I think people get so legalistic with what's on the outside that we must discern not what's on the outer, but really what's in the heart. So why are you even wearing that? Is it because you're insecure? Is it because you want eyeballs and attention? And I'm gonna tell women out there, yeah, you can show more skin and it might get more likes, comments, more followers, but it's also a prerequisite to attract that lustful spirit.
But then it's my body, it's my choice. I can wear whatever I want. We understand that. But all I'm saying is never expect for any man to respect you, sweetheart. With that mentality, never expect any man to respect you. Where is the dignity that you command? Dignity is earned, my love. Dignity and respect are earned. Dress modestly.
So the cleaner you look, right, the modestly you look, the more attractive you are, right? And through this narrative that we recently tapped into, it seems as if the girl renaissance now is not rooted in revolution, right? Through rebellion. Now it's going back to revolution through silence. Now, the girl renaissance, right, is packaged into white supremacy aesthetics. Yes, white supremacy aesthetics. Why do I say this? Because as African people, right, in most cases, right, initially, especially, or when girls initiate into womanhood, right, we have rituals. And in most cases, the rituals that are performed, women do not cover their tops, right? They do not cover this area of themselves, right? Mostly because there is an understanding that your breast, right, are used for nourishment, right? They are not used for sexual desirability. It's mostly used for nourishment. That is that understanding of when we look at the top area of a woman. In a book titled When God Was a Woman, this is literally my Bible. As soon as I read this book, my life changed. But I will be referring to this book most of my videos. When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stone and The Great Cosmic Mother by, I don't know how to pronounce this lady's name. But in this book by Merlin Stone, which is titled When God Was a Woman, she explains how prehistoric times, women were in a certain position in society, right? It was very matriarchal. And by matriarchal, it means it was women and children first. To the point where if you mistreat either the child or the mother, it was seen as you are mistreating God in some shape or form. But maybe we'll explore that in another series, right? But she explains that woman's nakedness was seen as sacred, was seen as godly. The perception changed around 2300 BC when Indo-European people started just flooding the world and influencing the world, and started influencing the world in terms of also placing laws that allows men to take in women and children as their property. Since these laws were mostly about taking women and children as men's property, that's when the policing of women's bodies became a thing. So fast forward birthing the patriarchal society we live in today. As much as there was a snap, right, where we snapped out of it during the 2012 to the 2018, but right now there is a return of shaming women's bodies, right, or policing women's bodies through shaming themselves, through shaming how they dress, right? And mostly that is, the narrative is pushed as though you will be promised security, you will be promised desirability, you will be promised safety and security if you present yourself in this modest way. And if you don't, right, you are allowed to even be shamed by other women, right? My theory is patriarchal surveillance is taking over the nervous system of a woman through conservatism. So let's explore what patriarchal surveillance means. Obviously, patriarchy is a societal construct which places men as dominant. And then we know that surveillance is being watched, like Big Brothers, the all-seeing eye, right? And the nervous system is literally your mind, essentially. So patriarchal surveillance means being watched by a man through your mind. So you cannot do absolutely anything unless it is approved by a patriarchal ideology, unless it is approved by a man in your head. You cannot dress or just move according to your free will unless it pleases the man in the head, the man in the head, the man in the head, which is not a physical man, obviously, but it is a patriarchal ideology. And I think the reason why we have fallen into this, now going back into patriarchal society or patriarchal identity as women, or even conservatism, right? I will define what conservatism on the screen, my love, don't worry. The reason why there's such a huge takeover of that is because, as I mentioned, we are promised safety and we are promised security, right? It is easier for us to censor men because it is like the thought of being independent is exhausting at times, right? And there's nothing wrong with depending on a man or depending on your husband. That's totally fine. That's totally cool. But I think what I'm trying to say is that it's not quote unquote the right way to live. What I'm trying to say in this video is that the rise of anti-feminism right now and the rise of conservatism right now, right, started simply by trends like what is it, cottage girl aesthetics, even trends like girl math, right, where there is this thing that is said, Uguti, my brain switches off when my man is around, or my math is illiterate, right, because there's a man in the room. And most of the time these trends are done when there's a man in the room. And I'm not saying that these trends are wrong. I mean, I low-key participate in these trends, but what I'm saying is that if we start aesthetically communicating to the brands, to the elites, to anything, to the universe, essentially, if we start communicating the need to be monitored as women, that's where we start losing the plots. That's where we start losing our identity as women. That's when we start validating the policing of women's bodies as a whole, the policing of bodies as a whole, right? And at the end of the day, we are in the rise of, it's not even a rise, like every day you are constantly reminded of femicide. A woman's body is laying on the ground every single day. If you look at the statistics, femicide is crazy. And femicide is rooted in misogyny. And it is rooted in the ideology that a woman and their children is a property of men. We can't automatically stop femicide, right? And we can't just walk around with our butts naked and things like that. But what we can do is not communicate to the universe or even to these men that we are their property at the end of the day. And modest culture, the rise of fascism, the rise of conservatism is rooted in trying to control women and trying to get them back in the kitchen. And I know, it's not that deep, Yandi. It's just fashion. It's just trends. I know, but I'm here to make it deep. That is the goal of the series. I'm here to make it deep because sometimes I feel as if we lose a plot a lot and we subconsciously internalize things that will make us hate ourselves. Like I mentioned in the Divine Feminine video, Black women, you are at the bottom of the food chain based on the hierarchical standards of life. You are at the bottom of the food chain, and it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you clean up your look in order for you to be chosen. It will not change the fact that we are seen as the least valuable in society. And my thing is, if we are systematically oppressed, right, why should we continue consuming, or why should we continue conforming to a system that hates us? It doesn't make sense. And I'm trying to create a matriarchal utopia, right? I'm trying to create a cult of a matriarchal utopia. I'm trying to remind people essentially that God is actually a woman. So at the end of the day, no amount of cleanup or modesty or men will make you chosen or will make you a right woman or quote unquote the good woman, right? I strongly believe that part of the fixing of the world has to go back to the identity of matriarchal understanding of ourselves, matriarchal understanding of God, especially. As long as we still tap into these patriarchal ideologies which were designed to hate us, we will always be in the bottom of the food chain. So I need women to Shaya, your third eye, baby girl. Dust it off, dust it off, dust it off. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to choose you. No one is going to choose you based on the desirability. Okay, people are going to choose you if you obviously tap into the desirability that are rooted in what is acceptable by society. But I need everyone to be rebellious. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's my problem. I need more woke women. I need more women to wake the fuck up and realize that it is only us that can not change the world, but we can change our perception of ourselves. And if we do the internal work, I promise you the frequency will change. And I do see just a lot of women, especially on TikTok, talking about this, like talking about especially books like When God Was a Woman. I am happy that I am born during this time where I can just actually even say those words, right? Even though maybe I'll be perceived as blasphemous, I don't give a shit. If you learn just the roots of everything that is right now, you will realize Uguti. But in conclusion, what I'm saying is the rise of conservatism and fascism and modesty is rooted in misogyny and the need to police women's body and the need to go back to that identity of women being men's property. So we need to, well, I can't tell you what to do because you are your own person, but we need to snap out of it immediately. Hello, Tony, how are you? I'm fine. And that is the end of my video. I hope you learned something or two. I really hope you do or did. And I will see you in the next video. What I'm saying is, Black women,